Yesterday, I received a great question from a saxophone player. He wrote, I've been playing saxophone for many years, although I've worked on tone and learning by ear many easier jazz tunes, I feel lost when understanding the harmony. When you are looking at a song to learn, what formula do you use? Listen to the melody with rhythm, listen for chord changes, key changes, read the chord chart for harmony, etc. Just curious of your approach. I work on my ear most of all, but partly because I can't understand the chord progressions. I end up frustrated when I solo, deviating from the melody, not understanding the harmony progression, left brain / right brain. Any advice is appreciated. Well, I think this question goes to the heart of what improvising is, and then how to do it well. How to improvise confidently within your unique style. But this person wants to understand the mechanics of chord changes because he believes it will help him improvise better over difficult tunes. He wants to know the secret of going from one chord to another and then use that knowledge to blow over more difficult tunes. He wants to figure out how to play over changes beyond what he can comfortably hear. And he's right to ask that question because understanding the mechanics is going to help you understand and perform over more complicated chord progressions, but only if he knows how to use that knowledge. That's what this video is going to help you better understand. Now, full disclosure, it's reasonable for you to think that I'm some anti-theory, anti-scale, anti-analysis guy because I focus on the ear. And in doing so, I remind people about, the potential mechanical use of scales and manufacturing of improvising, sounding performances, rather than emoting the music that's inside you. And honestly, that's cool if that mechanical scale pattern-based playing is where you're at. But I'm an advocate for improvising authentically. Music that you feel and reflect in your playing at that precise moment. And I use the word authentic because to me that means true to whatever music is inside of you that wants to come out in your playing. I do believe, however, that a better understanding, more knowledge of harmonic theory and what to play over chords, that's a good thing. So let's talk about how to know that without letting the mechanics of theory get in the way of you hearing and performing the music inside you. Let's take a more complicated jazz tune to do that, one that may not be as intuitive to you. We'll look at the tune's chord progression, the form, we'll talk about what to play over it, and this will be different from a simpler tune that's pretty consistently and intuitively in, one or a couple of related keys. Something we all know and love like Autumn Leaves, right? But let's look at a great jazz tune that's not so straightforward, like the standard Stella by Starlight. Now these are the usual changes to the tune. Now these changes are chock full of what we call 2/5s, and you've probably heard of 2/5/1s, right? That just means that all three of those chords are in the same key, the key of the 1 chord. So in a major key, the 2 chord is minor, the 5 chord is dominant, and that means that that lower 7th of that 5 chord makes it want to resolve to the 1 chord, which is major. So how does that help you improvise? Well, recognizing chord patterns like 2/5s, 2/5/1s, it shows you the various keys that you'll play throughout, in this case, Stella. And part of the difficulty with tunes with lots of chords is that it seems impossible to play a good melody when you're switching from chord to chord and key to key, bar to bar. What 2/5/1s show you is the longer time you have to play over each key center. And if you look at the changes for Stella, it may look like a bar to bar to bar scattering of various chords, but it's more orderly and logical than it first appears. When you're first learning a tune, one of the things you have to do is analyze the chords within the tune to find out how long each key center lasts and where it transitions to. In a tune like Impressions, well, you only have 2 keys or chords in the whole piece. Now, that presents its own challenge, but at least the harmony is simple, and you have a lot of time to play over one key or one chord compared to all these chords in Stella. So what do you do with all these chords? Well, that's where the 2-5-1s come in handy, because the 2-5-1s come in both major and minor flavors, and Stella starts with a 2-5 in the key of D minor. So E is the second note of the D minor scale. It's the 2. A7 with a flat 9 is the 5. So you can play anything in those first 2 bars in D minor. The next 2 bars is a 2-bar 2-5 in B flat major, which is, by the way, the overall key of the piece. Keep that in mind. C minor to F7, but it doesn't resolve to the 1, which would be B flat. It turns the F7 into an F minor 7. And then it goes to the 5 chord, B flat 7, and then resolves to the 1 chord of the E flat major. And we add a couple of flats to the E flat major to get to that 8th bar, which is the A flat 7. And there you have the first 8 bars. But what good is that to you? Well, you now know that you can play D minor over the first 2 bars, B flat major over the next 2 bars, and E flat major over the following 3 bars, and D flat major over A flat 7. Now I know that even sounds complicated, but those keys within that I just rattled off in those first 8 bars, they're not that different from each other, and they progress pretty intuitively. I mean, look at it this way. Play 1 flat over the first 2 bars, add a flat for the next 2 bars, add another flat for the next 3 bars, and 2 more flats for that A flat 7. I want to even make it simpler, because there are single notes, and I like to call them common tones, that work really well. They sound great over a whole series of changes. Now in the case of Stella, there are common tones throughout the entire first 8 bars. So listen to me play B flat throughout those 8 bars. And as I play, listen to how the color of the note changes within the context of each of those chords. Now let me do the same thing, and I'm going to play D all the way through the progression. Now, as you look at the changes, what other note could work like that? Well, the G sounds good until you get to the A flat 7, which doesn't accommodate a major 7 very well. But let me play G and let you hear that. Notice I had to play the G flat to accommodate the G flat 7. Now, just for the hell of it, let me noodle a little bit of a melody through those 8 bars, and I'm just going to use the G, the B flat, and the D. Now, that is not a world-class solo, but I think it demonstrates the way that you can make your way coherently through those first 8 bars pretty easily if you just understand a little bit about the chord structure and the form. And then look at the next 8 bars and the rest of the tune and see if you can come up with some common tones to play like this. But for now, let's look at the first chord on the bridge. Knowing some theory, I can play the G whole tone scale over that chord. Or I can just listen to the colors of the chord and kind of make up something that I hear, right? Now, I prefer the second phrase, but that's a choice you get to make. Now, can you do both? Running theory and scale relationships through your head while you emote music that you hear? For me, it's like a seesaw. Primarily, it's either one or the other. And when I'm thinking, I'm definitely not emoting. I did lots of thinking in order to prepare myself for knowing and hearing the chords on Stella all these years so that I can emote. But I'm at my best when I leave that thinking at the door when it comes time to perform and record. To truly improvise, you've got to hear the chords and the key centers, and you've got to anticipate their movement. It's a dance, but your ear is the primary generator of music. Here's the process to developing your ear for a particular tune. Number one, memorize the melody so you don't even have to think about it when you play it. It just comes out of your instrument. It really has to be that well learned. Two, understand the form of the tune. What's the tune's primary key? What sections repeat? Does it have a bridge? How long is the bridge and what key is that in? Three, be able to play the changes through the tune on the piano. Now I know, maybe you don't play piano well. So get my short course on comping for non-piano players and just plug away with just 3 or 4 note voicings throughout the tune. Memorize those changes like you memorize the melody. Notice what you're doing. You're starting to really hear the tune. And that's more than 50% of the trick to musical improvisation. I'd probably put it up to 75. 4, listen to great musicians play over the tune. 5, play it with a band or with a backing track as practice. Or just your band if the other people in the band are as obsessed as you are with playing that tune over and over and over until you're sick of it. Because that's what's required to really know a tune. And yes, think about what scales or chord tones you can play over each chord or key center as you practice. But when it comes to standing up and telling your personal musical story, forget about all of that and just let your imagination and your ear guide the way. Now, easy for me to say, right? You'll hear it. Well, playing jazz is not for the faint of heart. Play like there's no net underneath you. And yeah, you'll play wrong notes and you'll mess up, but that's the only way to get better, not by playing it safe with, memorized licks, patterns, and scales. I've never seen anyone not thrilled by applying what I'm talking about through this video. And it happens overnight with no effort. No, please don't listen to people who try to convince you of quick and easy jazz. But you can now start building your skills in your ear to play over any tune with more confidence and emotional impact. I just gave you something here that'll make you a better improviser if you put in the practice, the brain power, the time, and the effort. And do this a little bit every day for the next 30 days. And let me know what you discover about yourself in the process. I think you'll be thrilled.